hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash, and today we are giving you the linebacker episode, which, as our producer kindly pointed out, this is the 19th straight time we've talked about Jihaad Campbell, and you're gonna love it. But no, we're gonna talk about the best linebackers in this class. We will also talk about Jalon Walker, since we did miss him when we talked about our edge rusher rankings. But before we get into this, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this wonderful Sunday afternoon?
I'm bad. I've been thinking a lot recently. I think AI is going to change everything massively in the next 5 years or so. I think everything's going to be way different, you know?
I mean,
I'm not actually bad. This is just what I've been thinking, right? I mean,
AI is
you do like
dangerous.
You do like coding stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a strong opinion on AI?
I mean, it's difficult because everyone wants to implement AI. Every company in the world is like, oh, we've got to be like AI thinking, but like AI is like really bad for the environment. It's weird. We kind of like jumped the curve a little bit, I think. Like, we came out with AI before quantum computing really went mainstream. Like, if everyone could have quantum computers before we had AI, I think it would have been different because it's like way more energy efficient. But the fact that we have like large learning models that use so much processing power and require so much like cooling, it's too much. Like, we don't have the technology to really support it long term.
I feel like with every technological advancement, they all could be good, but we need safeguards for the people that like lose their jobs. Like, for every technological advancement, right, it means that less humans are required in the workforce, which doesn't have to be a bad thing if
right.
In fact, it should be a good thing.
It should be a good thing if the structures were different, but they're not. So every time there's something like AI, and a bunch of people, are now irrelevant, or coders, lose their job, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
Like, at the same time, we take out the safety nets for people who are on unemployment or, poor. It just makes every societal problem like worse and worse. And it just makes the income inequality from like the tech billionaires to like your normal Joe just bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where like we're, the oligarchy, right? That's a big deal right now. Like, AI just advances that.
I've seen a lot of people in terms of like recruiting and like headhunters, people that like try and help people find jobs. I've seen a lot of those people say like the best thing to learn how to do would probably just be sales. That is probably the most like stable career for the next like 20 some years, would just be sales. And I'm like, damn, that sucks, because that's like the worst career ever.
And I imagine like a world in like 2029, it's like our jobs are taken, like even to the point of like, you feel like you're doing like sort of maybe like creative or creator based sort of content type stuff, but there's going to be Stay Hot bot out there that you can just ask some prompt to give you, and then it can generate 1,000 episodes talking about whatever based off of our previous episodes. And then if you don't like something about like our takes or our personality, you can type in and be like, make them 50% more optimistic about the Broncos or whatever. And then
we're really susceptible too, because we have the same 5 talking points that we cycle.
we say 5 things. You could probably do it now is the issue.
You probably could have done it 3 years ago with like a predictive text.
Yeah, man.
So I've been thinking about that. And it's also flooding like crazy over here. It's not going to get too bad, but the Ohio River is going to get to like 60 feet in Cincinnati.
Jeez.
I haven't had any flooding like near me necessarily, but Columbus as a whole has been under a flood watch for like 4 straight days.
Because of the rain.
Mm-hmm.
My kitchen is on flood watch because my sink is backed up, and it keeps spitting dirty water back out through the pipes, and it was overflowing this morning, and I keep having to bail it out from the sink to the toilet, dirty sink water. So I'm hopefully I don't hear any splashing over the course of this episode. I shouldn't, because I just cleared it, but that's
so when
been
Stay Hot, when all three of us drown in our homes,
are going to be flood victims,
and then the AI Stay Hot will take over.
Yeah, not so bad. It's not so bad, but the only thing worse than the state of the world right now is linebacker scouting in the 2010s and 2020s, and that is our podcast episode today, the off-ball linebackers. And before we get into this, I want to talk about, I just want to list every linebacker that was in the consensus top 50 since 2016.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Miles Jack, Darren Lee, Reggie Ragland, Jalen Smith, Reuben Foster, Hassan Reddick, Jared Davis, Zach Cunningham, Tyus Bowser, Roquan Smith, Tremaine Edmonds, Rashawn Evans, Leighton Vander Esch, Devin White, Devin Bush, Isaiah Simmons, Kenneth Murray, Patrick Queen, Zach Bond, Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Zaven Collins, Jamin Davis, Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Drew Sanders, Jack Campbell, Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper.
And Theo, we were talking about this like briefly before the episode, because I was coming, I'm like, dude, this is like one of the best linebacker classes I've seen in a while. And then you're like, well, that's just because every linebacker class sucks.
How many of those guys got a big second contract with the team that drafted them as an off-ball linebacker?
Very few.
I mean, it's Roquan and it's Owusu-Koramoah got a big second contract, and he's an off-ball linebacker. But even he just blitzes. Like, he just blitzes.
But he's a solid player. But it's like
he is.
And then
Bond, but not with the team that drafted him. He was an edge, true. and then he went to Philly. So the Saints didn't necessarily enjoy the fruits of that pick, although they did sort of make the right one. And then I think Jack Campbell and Edgerrin Cooper, they look good. Nakobe Dean, they look good, but they haven't gotten the big second contracts yet, so they don't count. So by my count, if it's pretty much just JOK and Roquan out of those 30 players.
That are. I mean, that's definitely a bad run.
So
I'm a while there.
You can just assume that everyone we're about to talk about is like probably not going to work out. It feels like an epidemic, the linebacker bust problem in the league today.
I feel like we're turning the corner, though. I feel like things are gonna. I think we're getting better.
I think there's a lot of similar skill sets. These guys. I think a lot of them have relatively similar like strengths and weaknesses. Not all of them, but there's like, I feel like a through line with some of them, which is that they're all like maybe a little light and maybe struggle a little bit to take on like contact from offensive linemen.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys that are a little better at it than others, though. Do we want to just rip through Campbell first, since we've done a film review on him? If you haven't watched that already, on Friday we put out a film review on Jihaad Campbell. We each watched a game and kind of came together, round table, gave our thoughts. But since watching more of him, have your thoughts changed on him at all, Theo or Matt?
Not really. Not really. If you've watched that video, I still have a lot of the same concerns. I think he's as pure off the ball linebackers go, and that's what he is. Any talk about like, oh, he's got some edge versatility, I don't think that's true. I think that he's purely a Mike or Will playing, 5 yards off the ball all the time. Obviously, he can blitz and come down in a 3-4 sometimes, but I would not want him living in that world whatsoever. So as far as pure linebackers go, he's probably the best one just based off potential. I don't know if he has better tape than Knight at this point, or if he's as complete as Knight. But Knight is a sixth-year senior.
He's very old.
He's very old. Campbell, he is amazingly fluid, changing directions. He's got click and close ability that's better than most of the corners in this class, I'd say, like purely putting his foot in the ground and coming downhill and driving and undercutting out routes. Like he's better at that kind of thing than a lot of the corners in this class. So, and the sideline to sideline speed and range, obviously. There's a lot to like about his profile, and you can see the vision of him being one of the more productive and rangy linebackers in the game. So he's the best based off potential.
Totally. There's some issues, of course, with him where it's like, is he going to be able to live, in the middle all the time at the NFL level with how light he is, particularly like his base just not being very strong? I think the answer is he's going to have to be a little bit, more slippery, which he can be when he's trying to, get after the run. And that might limit how you can use him as a defender, and you're going to want other guys out there. But I like him a lot. I think he clearly has the ability to be like an incredibly special player in coverage. I'm a one of one type of guy. So I think he's worth a first round pick, and I like him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mocked him recently to go to the 49ers. I think him and Warner we talked about it, I think in the review, it would just decimate the middle of the field. There would be nothing anyone could do to exploit that at all.
My concern with him in San Francisco would be the defensive tackles in front of him. They don't have anybody who's really dissuading runs right up the gut right now. And if he was behind questionable defensive tackles and it was really easy for linemen to combo and climb up to him, he really doesn't want to dent those kinds of blocking schemes in. He wants to run around everybody who's coming at him. Tight ends, doesn't matter. Linemen, doesn't matter. Like whoever it is, he really is not trying to get his hands too dirty, which is really, I think, a problem with him and what I don't like. So I think to be maximized, he should go to a line that doesn't already struggle against the run, because I do think he could be more of a problem than a solution in that particular area early in his career, because he is really light in his lower body. And the way he just wants nothing to do with the contact. He really wants to run around it and make up for the lost ground later with his redirection and burst to the ball, which it doesn't work out for him a lot of the time. And Alabama has good noses and they, mask, I think, a lot of those issues. But man, if he went to the wrong situation, I think that could become pretty glaring pretty fast. Although he does have long arms. All right. He does have the ability to take guys on and stack and shed them. And there are reps and they're rare, but I have seen them where he does do a good job with it. So it's like, okay, maybe they're in there. Maybe he just needs a different coach in his ear to saying like, hey, you got to be more aggressive, and maybe he can do that. But that is something that concerns me, and it would concern me in San Francisco. Obviously, next to Fred Warner, the coverage would be great. I mean, throwing a dig against those two would not be fun at all.
And Fred Warner could teach him up on that block shedding and getting his pad level lower. Who better than the best linebacker in football?
Yeah, I think he can shed blocks. I think he's got the arms to do it at least. I just think it comes down to his overall power. Like, I just don't want him engaged with an offensive lineman for that long because, like you said, it's not only that he can't, then it's that he's going to get dented. He's going to get pushed back majorly. Mm-hmm. So I worry about whether or not that's like a truly fixable issue without like some serious physical changes, which aren't impossible, but is a big ask when you're drafting somebody in the first round. So I do like him a lot. I think what he's good at, he's so good at, but there's certainly weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at deciphering like open gaps and hitting the right one. Like his reaction and anticipation of plays forming in front of him is great. Like he seems to have like a really strong football IQ and understanding field sense. But if the physicality isn't there to like engage blocks and disengage them and go and make the tackle, because he's a great tackler too. It's just that one step in between that could sometimes get him caught up. But everything else, it seems to be phenomenal from him.
Yeah. I think I'm the lowest on him of this pod just because of the run blocking issues. I also think he can be a bit too committal in coverage sometimes. Like if they're trying to high-low him or stretch him.
Yeah.
he might chase one of those things and look really good doing it, like cover it up really well. But sometimes the idea is more stay in between them and muddy the read for the quarterback. And when you fly to one of the two options, you're really just making things really easy for the quarterback because he can just throw it to the open guy in the zone that Campbell vacated. And I do think he's guilty of doing that sometimes, whether it be pursuing a quarterback who's scrambling and leaving coverage, or getting
There's
stretched.
an example of that in the Tennessee game that we showed on Friday.
There's an example of that in the Vanderbilt game as well.
Yeah.
Really, in every game I watch, there's like probably a rep or two where he really chases something when he probably should stay home a little bit more.
He can fall for eye candy a little bit.
So I thought he had more. He has like top 10 traits and like probably round 2 tape, but because of all the linebacker misses that I just described at the top of the episode, we've ended up at this point where every team in the league just needs a linebacker. We talked about it on the last episode going through the first round. It's like, well, what team could use him? And it's like, well, just about every team in the league could use a rangy coverage guy who can play the middle hole in Tampa or get back after play action. I mean, it's a play action league. To have somebody who can, bite on the run and then cover a lot of ground roboting back, like it could be extremely valuable. Everybody could use a
have a great open field tackler. Like it's not a very I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. It's not very prevalent in the NFL right now. Is he your linebacker 1 though, at least, Theo?
I think, yeah, he's my favorite pure off the ball guy. Jalon Walker, we can quibble with where he ends up being, and I like Walker more than Campbell. I like Walker more than Campbell, so I guess he's my linebacker 1.
Do you like him more as a linebacker or as an edge? Really,
both is kind of where I've come down on him. I do think that he should be a linebacker who blitzes a lot is kind of where I've ended up. So a defense, a queen, Frankie Louvu is just the role that comes to mind the most. Like Louvu's off the ball, but he's blitzing constantly. And I think Walker has better juice than even Louvu does. And if you used him in the same role, it could be pretty explosive and pretty productive. I mean, Louvu had a great year and has been a good player for a long time. I think Walker almost reminds me of like a Troy Polamalu type character sometimes, with the way he times up his blitzes and the way he like kind of gets moving before the snap, and just the overall effort levels and range that he's got, and the way he's almost able to go off script sometimes and still kind of do the right thing. And I do like kind of that off the ball aspect to him, where it gives him a little bit more space and height to read things out. He is like 6'2", 240. So to have him as an edge absolutely full time, like he is pretty undersized for that kind of thing, where if you gave him a little bit more space to work with, that issue kind of gets mitigated a little bit. But at the same time, he's somebody who, is going to fly downhill on these play action plays, like isn't as good in coverage as he is rushing the passer, like not even close, and is so special rushing the passer. You just want him to do it all the time. But so it's a little bit hard to envision a fit for him in that way. And a defensive coordinator will definitely have to be creative. And I think you'll need a really good cover guy next to him. But man, in a defense that likes to call a lot of fire zones and sim pressures, or that likes to get their pass rush coming from the second level, like, man, he's just perfect at it. Like he's so explosive. Like his closing speed is unbelievable. Like, Blaiden, you're a track guy. I'd like you to analyze his like first step when he lines as a pure edge. Like there's no false step, just hurtling forward immediately, like full extension right off the bat. Like he's got some. I've seen him push, pull. I've seen him counter inside. Like
his first step is almost
nice.
Garrett-esque. It's crazy how fast off the ball he is.
So anyway, that's my spiel on him. In certain roles, he's my linebacker 1.
I would prefer him as an edge just because of how great his first step is. I think that would be place to maximize him, but he could do both.
I'm worried about him being kind of a weirdo tweener, is my thought. As an off-ball linebacker, yeah, I just don't think he's that good in coverage. And like it's a pretty serious issue. As an edge rusher, I mean, he's very toolsy. I can't deny that, and I think that's important. I can accept that, but I don't even think he's really that close in terms of like developing like a full pass rushing bag. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's very technical at all. And he's like 240 pounds. And his arms are really not that long either. I mean, it's just a lot of worrying stuff there where it's like, yeah, he's good at blitzing. He's really good. And he has special tools. But where he's getting mocked, especially, like he's getting mocked in the top 10 a lot, that makes me kind of nervous, man, that it's not as easy as just kind of plugging him in and playing. It's not to say that he can't be good if he goes to the right scheme. I mean, we see linebackers who are not nearly as talented as him, who aren't the blitzer that, like the level of blitzer that he is, but sort of our specialty guys in that sort of role, be super successful and see the field a lot. Like, I don't know, like Ivan Pace is a guy who I think his best ability is blitzing. He's mega limited. I don't think he's not really some beast in coverage or anything. And he can still see the field a lot and make a real impact, right? Take that, take a guy like Walker who doesn't have nearly as severe limitations, but is kind of like, maybe like his strength is in the sort of same type of thing, not necessarily in terms of like how they get it done, but just of what they're trying to do. And I could totally see how that's successful. But at the same time, like I see conversations about the Jaguars taking him at 5. And it's like, man, wouldn't you really rather him just be like, can't do any of the linebacker stuff, but is more fit to be like straight up an edge? It's like, yeah, I would rather have a player like that if I could choose. And I think it can get a little bit too rich for me. I also see the Panthers talk about him a lot. And he's one of the guys where I would be like, let's see it. I don't want to be just negative. Let's see it. But you've got to really make sure the role is right for him, I think.
Yeah, I was doing a mock draft live on TikTok and on Twitch, and I was trying to like make this like a community mock and see what like everyone in the chat wanted. And it felt like once I got to like pick 5, Jalon Walker was pitched for every single landing spot, and he eventually went at 15 to the Falcons. And I felt that was like a solid point for him to go, either there or maybe like Cincinnati, like a place where they could really use like either just a pure blitzing linebacker or like the Falcons haven't had a good pass rusher in ages. So just getting anyone in that room would feel like a positive to me. But yeah, I can definitely, I know, Matt, I feel like you're always a little bit anti-tweener, but no, I definitely see your concerns.
Well, I think, it can work. We've seen guys like this work before, and he's young and he can continue to improve. So I think when you see a guy with his tools and that creative defensive coordinators can use that successfully, it would be wrong to say like there's no spot for him in the NFL. I don't think that's going to happen. But like the limitations are really big. They're huge. This is a linebacker who really can't work in coverage, or it's an edge who's super light, and I don't know. I think if I was a team that it's like I'd okay with having a super light edge, I might look at like, a Mike White, who I think is a lot more technical and provides a lot of that same burst. I mean, they're different players, of course, and you'd want them for different roles, but I guess I'm saying, yeah, I would like somebody who is a little bit more focused rather than what Walker brings to the table. Because I just think like there's super strong parts to his skill set, but it just doesn't come together. It's like one thing away. Like if he had longer, it's like one, can I get one of those things? Can you not be that light? Can you be a little bit better in coverage? Give me one more thing.
And a big one that you haven't mentioned yet, Matt, I wish he was bendier. Like he's got that crazy first step, and that can really win him reps around the outside arm. but I don't think he really has severe ankle flexion and like dip and rip ability to be a full-time edge either. So that's another issue with him. But I do think he has the tenacity and the play strength that I'm not too worried about him getting like run over in the run game if he was there. Like I think he can set an edge pretty good. I do. But yeah, his arms are crazy long and he's 6'1". He would be a bit of a miniature edge out there. But yeah, the bend, the size, just the mentality as a linebacker, it's like, would that be an issue in coverage? Would he sacrifice that for pass rush? Like probably, yeah. So he's definitely a weird comp, and I could see him, you know, just being like just flailing on a bad team, honestly, and just not being that intriguing. But I do think like there is a world where he inserts into the pass rush as an off-ball guy and can kind of wreck the game because he is just so explosive, and he does have the stop-start too. Like people overset on him and he just boom hits the brakes and goes inside. Like man, and then the closing speed. So I still do like him, but I understand what you're saying, Matt.
My thing is,
I wish
to me
it
just doesn't sound like we're talking about a guy who's being mocked where he is. It sounds like we're talking about like a day two guy. It doesn't sound like we're talking about a guy who legitimately, it's not like fringe getting top 10 hype. That is not what it sounds like at all when we talk about Jalon Walker. Yeah. And I'm not out on him. I agree. I just don't think like when we talk like Frankie Louvu role, I don't think that's, you know, I think sometimes he gets comps and then that gets people excited. It'll be like, oh, you know, who else was kind of a weird tweener? Micah Parsons. And it's like, well,
yeah, no, nobody is Micah in this class. I don't think. The thing about this class though is like everybody after like Carter and even Carter to some extent, and even Hunter to some extent with what side of the ball does he play on. So everybody after Genty and like Cam Ward is like, where do we play him? And like, is this a skill set that comes together nicely? Like Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, like are these guys like superstar tackles, or do they have to kick inside? Or, you know, Loveland, is he a slot? Is he a inline? Warren, same thing. Like what it does. Jalon Walker definitely also fits that mold where it's like, man, he's not a really clean top 10 projection, but you start to think about it and it's like, well, who is that? Like Mason Graham's pretty small and he doesn't have very long arms.
Look, it's like all of them are it's a lot of weirdos and freaks in this class. I'd trade all my picks.
Yeah. I saw a video of Steve Smith talking at Travis Hunter's pro day, and he was like making a very minor critique about like the way he ran his routes. And he was like, it seems like a small thing, but it's these small things that makes me think that he needs to pick one side of the ball to play, because that's going to be the thing that gets him paid, is doing all the little things right and honing his craft at one position. That's what's going to get him like a massive contract.
Yeah, you can't be just a half decent. There's no use in being a half decent at a lot of different positions. Like we've seen it. I'm anti-tweener. All right. I don't want somebody who's like an okay safety and an okay linebacker and an okay, like we don't really live in a positionless league. Everybody needs to fit together in a way that makes sense. And
this is NBA.
Yeah, if someone's a really, really good linebacker and not a very good safety, I'm okay with that. If someone's a really good linebacker and they're not a very good edge, that's perfect. I'll just play him at linebacker. That's normally how it goes. So I would rather it be that. But with Jalon Walker, man, I really like his tape. I think he's just crazy instinctive, and I feel like he can have a big time impact on a pass rush and a rush defense at the same time.
I've seen him be most people's linebacker 1 and edge 2 in this class, which I disagree with, but I
do disagree with both of those. I think edge 2 is really, really steep for some guys who I think have every bit as much of an athletic profile as him, but are more built for the position and honestly are farther along as just like skilled pass rushers. Yeah. And I think for a linebacker, I would take Campbell.
I would also take Campbell. But how do you feel about the South Carolina guy, Matt? Demetrius Knight.
I've been watching more of him. I mean, the age is not great, and I won't lie. Breakout age is a good indicator, and it's not great for him. We can call it what it is right away.
He's been at South Carolina for how long? 6 years, right?
No, he transferred from Charlotte. I could be wrong. I don't know. As I watched more of him, I kind of viewed him as like a really big downhill presence. And as I watched more of him, I still believe that. Like, his pursuit is amazing. And linebackers like that are always just so exciting to watch. And he's kind of like Campbell in that sense, where it's like when the, there's a play that needs to be made, down in like the flats or whatever, and he's got to go and like cover some ground to do it. Like, he absolutely can, and he looks really good doing it. But when he takes on offensive linemen, I just don't think he really has like the power to do it. And that's something that I guess I didn't, just watching him casually, I didn't think was an issue, but watching a little bit more intensely has changed my mind on who he is as a player. Now, it doesn't mean he's necessarily bad or anything, because I think he's pretty good in coverage. But there's also a lot of guys in this class where it's like, well, they're in like, they're 230 or they're 235 or whatever. And it's like, they're really aggressive and they can read the offense and go and make a play, and their pursuit's good and they tackle well. But when they have to get in the mess of it, it's just a little tough for them. There's ways that they can make it work. There's ways they can impact the run game still, but they're going to have to be more of your will or like whatever. And what I'm worried about is like, if there's a lot of guys like that, like compare him to Schwesinger, for instance, although he's like considerably lighter still, isn't he's when he starts to get into like real weirdo territory.
6'2",
although
225, it's
225. That's okay. Maybe this isn't a great comp then. I'm worried that there's just a few too many guys like that, and teams look at Knight and they say, he's a good player, but if I'm going to pick someone like this, give me the guy who isn't, 24 years old or whatever. That's my concern. Because, once he'll be 28, I had him in the first round to the Bills. I don't think I would take him at the end of the first round if I was Buffalo. I don't know if I agree with that. You're going to take him, fifth-year option. He'll be, 29, time for second contract? Like, it just doesn't really make sense. I think he could be a good player, but that's just the type of gamble. Like, you have to zoom out and think about the odds a little bit before you make a move like that. I'm still a fan of him, though. Yeah. I feel like I'm being too negative because I came out with a really positive take about him, or whatever, sort of loosely.
Schwesinger weighed in at the combine. So, like, at UCLA, the ESPN page, he was at 225. At the combine, he measured at 242. And then he didn't run the 40.
He is so fake, dude. That is
the lamest shit ever.
That is the fakest
him being
weight
top
gain
50
I've ever
consensus
seen.
is blowing my mind, but we'll get into him later. Knight, I think he's like the ideal third round pick. Like, if you could get him there, I'd be so hyped. Anything above that where it's like, man, I kind of wish there was a little bit more meat on the bone. I kind of wish there was a bigger swing. But with him, it does feel like you can get on base by picking him, because he really does understand playing linebacker at a pretty high level. I think he does such a nice job, like just tucking in behind his defensive tackle and then reading the running back, and he can make a play kind of on both sides and using that DT as a shield for himself. Like, he's just really hard to climb to. And when he does, I agree with you 100%, Matt, that he doesn't actually have the size and strength to like truly bother an NFL lineman, but like the way he approaches it is right. Like, he gets long, he stabs in the right place.
Yes, I 100% agree with.
His technique there is really good. It's just that he truly is a bit like light in the pants to actually.
It's like Campbell. It's the same thing where it's like you have. Although I don't think Campbell does it as often as Knight, but it's like Knight can get long and like I totally agree, he can stab out. But like if he has to hang there for too long, like he just does not have the ability, like strength wise, to hang with guys in the SEC, and certainly not at the NFL level.
Yeah. So he's good if he can do it quick and kind of stab and then maybe get a little bit of depth and like fall to either side, which is good. Like that is very solid tape, I think, and just the consistency at which he does it. Like, he's not afraid of it whatsoever. Like I think Campbell can be, and Like I liked all that, although I do think the upside there is a little bit limited. And then in coverage, I didn't see him do anything too crazy, but he seemed good. I mean, I
thought he was solid.
I thought he was solid as well. Like he buzzed around pretty well. Like I didn't, even though he's kind of this more downhill guy, and you know, when I think about what he's best at, I do think of the extension and the stack and shed and the two gapping run ability. But like he's pretty fast and buzzes around in coverage too. He's not like purely like this plodding, you know, downhill guy who's not all that strong. Like I do think he's a complete linebacker. Blitz, being a part of the blitz plan, which he did all the time at South Carolina, they were constantly sending dog blitzes, and he could kind of slam into people with some real force and be the penetrator for a defensive tackle to loop around. So he can do a lot of cool things for you, I think.
This is my thing about Walker, though. It's like, how many of these guys are like, I know it's not the same, but like, there's a lot of guys who can give you some blitzing juice. I just don't know if I could spend a high pick on him.
He's different, though. He's so different. He's different.
But I don't know. Look, Knight has some crazy instincts. There's a play against Oklahoma where the quarterback like faces pressure off his right side at the very top of his drop. And so he's going to, you know, plant his back foot, step up. As soon as he plants that back foot, Knight just shoots out of a cannon and is like charging towards this now widening B gap as if he's anticipating this quarterback to run. Mind you, I have like no one is, I'm just thinking he's just going to step up into the pocket. Sure enough, though, quarterback steps up and then takes off to run into that widening B gap, and he runs right into Knight. It's a forced fumble and scoop and score. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, who in their right mind? I jumped out of my seat. I'm like, how in the world did he see that? He's just, his instincts, like, he's old, but like I think
25.
But he's just experienced, man. He just knows football. He is. The luster kind of comes off of it, because I had those same moments where I'm like, damn, his instincts are like crazy good compared to everybody else in this class. Yeah. And then it's like, well, yeah, he's basically a pro linebacker at this point. Like, I'd be concerned if that wasn't the case.
If you're a rookie and you're not still on your parents' health insurance, like, he's going to turn 26 during the NFL season as a rookie. That's crazy, man. And that's why I think it's tough to pick him high, because it's just like, you know, the upside is really limited on a guy where it's like he needs to be really good for the second contract stuff to work out, you know, if he's going to be 30 years old when he sees it. So
yeah,
you get that veteran presence day one, man.
You get that veteran presence, but he'd be good if he was like your fifth best player in your front seven, you know, like that just kind of feels like what he's destined to be. He doesn't feel like he's going to enter the league, develop further, and be like an actual X factor for you in any type of way. It just feels like he is somebody that you can plug in there. He can be a starter. He can be okay. He does everything pretty well, and you just kind of, you know, let him go, and he's not somebody that's blowing everything up in the backfield like Campbell could maybe, or, you know, making huge plays down the field in coverage. Like he just seems solid, which is fine, but it's like, I would want a solid player in the third round. In the first two, I'd want like really great players, and I just don't know.
I would take Knight in the second round.
You think he's that good?
I like him. Like, I get he's old, maybe he is already maxed out. But, like, if he's maxed out at this, I feel pretty happy with, like...
I can see it.
Like, if we're saying he's a starting player, like, there's a lot of third-round picks that don't start.
It's true. I'm just talking, like, just thinking, like, ideal world. Like, I'm thinking about how I would want my draft class to look, not even just thinking of players in this class, but first round, like, just, like, total stud, like round one,
you get
everything, you know. Round two, like, round two is not, like, 26-year-old rookie, you know, like, if you could get this guy in the third round, it would be ideal.
They took a 29-year-old rookie in the...
Now, if you wanna overpay for some stability and you feel comfortable with that, like, you always got to make sacrifices over the draft. Like, it's never gonna go ideally for you. So in certain circumstances, I could understand, but like ideally, third round pick for Knight. And I think ideally second round pick for Campbell for me, but the tools will push him to first.
Really?
And I think Walker, ideally, like in the teens, I think. That's how I value them.
I'm just not that high on Walker.
Yeah, I would take Campbell in the teens before I took Walker in the teens. But
You and me behind the Dollar Tree parking lot.
we're duking it out over.
We're duking it out. This cannot stand.
We're running that 40 again. Well, let's talk about a guy that we know you don't like because you tweeted about it. Carson Schwesinger.
Wait, what was your tweet?
Oh, someone just asked him, do you like
he's
Schwesinger?
not the best player on the UCLA defense, first of all. I liked, there is somebody that I just started watching after Schwesinger because like he was actually good. And it was Wafai Oladeo. I haven't figured out how to pronounce his name yet. I just know that he's number 2 on UCLA. I'm like, okay, this guy can set an edge. He's got a pretty good first step. He can bend a little bit. So I started watching him. And then so I tweeted that he was going to be good one day. And then someone asked me if I like Schwesinger, and I said no. So that's all the tweet was just me saying no. But yeah, he's very fake in my opinion, like very fake.
No, why is it?
Well, he doesn't like do anything besides like fly downhill on every single play, like absolutely fly downhill with no actual ability to beat a block. Like zero. Like if
it gives effort, man.
If a running back steps in front of him, like it's over for him. It feels like, and he makes a lot of plays like in the backfield because these college zone schemes, when a linebacker flies downhill, like the timing between the offensive linemen to like secure that combo and then like break off, he really stresses those rules and like takes advantage of guys who can't, secure that double team and get off and block him. So he gets a lot of like unblocked TFLs where he just like shoots a gap. That's like all he can do as far as I'm concerned. I mean, play action with him is hilarious. Like he runs after play action. Like you think Jalon Walker is bad. This guy's 10 times worse. Like he completely takes himself out of every single play where there's play action. And if he meets any kind of contact whatsoever on his way downhill, he's getting taken out of the play. And like his play weight, what is it? 230, something like that.
I see on ESPN and PFF it says 225, but then on like the combine stuff it says 242. So
going to the combine when you have a weight like question about yourself, and then like I'm assuming
up and not running a 40.
Yeah, drinking 17 pounds of water and then not running the combine, not running the 40 is total bullshit.
He did the bench press, I think. I think he did the bench press. Let me see. I think that was.
I don't care what he bent. Like he just doesn't have.
What would be give? He did the bench and the vertical jump. Guess what each of those were?
I don't know. He's probably. I mean, he's explosive. Like he's fast. So I assume that the explosive drills, the vertical and broad, he did pretty well.
He did a 39.5-inch vert, 20 on the bench press.
That's really good. That's a really good vert. I mean, he is like when he comes downhill, like immediately after watching Knight, I watched him and it was the first play he shot a gap and I was like, whoa, this guy's fast. This guy's way more explosive than Knight. He just got in the backfield and made a tackle. Then I proceeded to watch him try to do that on every single rep thereafter. And sometimes it worked. And it's like every play is goal line with him. Like it could be 1st and 15 after a penalty, and he's like, "Man, I'm gonna defend this like it's 4th and 1 and the tush push is coming." Like that
any play where a linebacker, like if at the snap of the ball, the linebacker just shoots the A gap and they meet zero resistance, I consider that a fake rep. Like they didn't really have that was clearly like it was a designed blitz. The gap opened up for them and like the part of the Red Sea. And he met the running back in the backfield. Now, you still have to make the tackle, but it's like it's like an RPO for a quarterback. Like, it's not, like, you still have to hit the throw, but it's kind of fake. The one thing that I did really like that I saw from Schwesinger was in, like, pure dropback situations, his lateral quickness and coverage looked really nice. he had one interception where he flipped his hips like 3 different times, reading the quarterback's eyes, and made it, and like had a great interception, great play on the ball. And I was like, damn, that was really nice. So I do think he's got some nice lateral quickness skills, and like you said, Theo, he's fast downhill. But I can see the concern with, like, if he can't take on blocks at all, then if you have to scheme around that entirely, then it's going to be hard to play him on defense.
Yeah, I don't think he's light for nothing. Was my initial takeaway. Like, yeah, he moves like he's a lot lighter than, some of these other guys, and I think he's very good in coverage. I mean, he can run with tight ends incredibly well, and I totally agree about his lateral quickness. I didn't feel like his ability to, like, I guess, get downhill was quite as phony as you, Theo, but I also, I guess, like, I just don't know what to make of any of, like, his off-season measurement stuff, and I'll be real with you, like, I am decently concerned about his size with how light he was, but I think being as good as coverage as he is, and being as quick as he is, and having, I think, some pursuit chops, like, I don't know, I think I could see him as a not completely unreasonable guy.
Unreasonable where, like, I think of him when he comes in the league, he better be a backup. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think like 4th round.
I would
and maybe he's on a development track. I mean, he hasn't been starting at UCLA for that long. So this idea that he could get better at taking on contact or, deciphering certain routes, like, it's not unreasonable. But, like, man, if you're picking him and slotting him in as your will right away, like, I'd be running at him every play. And probably
the Browns have picked 94. If they took him there, I would be pretty okay with that.
94, yeah, 94 is not so bad.
I do think it's strange that he, like, I mean, he was an All-American, right? And he went from, like, not playing, like, a special teams guy to All-American, like, in 1 year. And now he's in the draft and he's rated very highly. So that is a strange progression path for him. I don't know.
I think he just got overrated with all those awards. Like, they see him blow up enough plays in the backfield, and it's like, oh, this guy must be one of the best linebackers in the country. And maybe he is, because the linebackers in the country are just not that good. I mean, Barry Carter for Clemson is also very bad, I think. Like, there's a lot of bad linebacker play out there. So maybe he is one of the best. But
I will say this. I think it's interesting because I read the scouting reports of guys that we talk about just to see what everyone else is saying. I don't know if you guys do the same. But, like, I'd say that the most common plus that people have for Schwesinger is that his ability to read and, like, react to plays is really good. It seems like everybody in the community loves it. I'm not saying that as, like, you're so wrong, Theo, but the idea that, like, he's totally phony with that stuff is a hot take.
Is it? Hold on.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just looking at only a couple.
I mean, the size issue is definitely a concern. Like, he's not going to be a thumper, but I think he's, like, great at reading quarterback's eyes and coverage, and, like, he's got great hips and lateral quickness. Like, there's definitely use for him. But I do think there's a little bit of, like, kind of like, it has to be in a certain scheme. It has to be kind of a good fit. Like, I'm trying to think about, like, I don't, like I said,
you're
like,
muted.
Oh yeah, you're muted, Theo. Like I said, like, if the Browns took him at 94, I wouldn't be mad, but I don't know if, like, I mean, he probably would fit with Schwartz, just, like, blitzing downhill all the time. But, like, if he gets engaged with, like, Joe Tooney, like, he's losing that every time because he's 225 at play weight.
If he gets
You're muted again. I'm sure you're cooking, Theo.
If he gets
You're muted again.
Okay, no, it's glitching.
If he gets engaged with Ashton Genty, he might be losing. Joe Tooney is the best pass protecting.
You're muted again, Theo. I'm
You're
sure.
glitching, bro. What is up?
Theo doesn't
What
want
is
to
up
talk
with
to
that? Is it like doing it on its own?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I'm talking. Maybe it'll be fixed this time, but
Okay.
it seemed like it was just kind of
Big
toggling. But
Schwesinger is trying to
big
silence you. Write it.
Wow. The liberal media at it again.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. I just thought that he fit into a specific role, you know. There is a level of weight you've got to have out there, but I just thought that you know what you're getting with him, and I think his ability to play well in coverage, like it makes it work for me. He's a certain archetype. I wouldn't pick him with a first round pick or anything. I might not even pick him with second, but like I can see him having a role in the NFL.
Yeah, he reminded me a little bit of like Caden Ellis in Atlanta, who is, a crazy white boy who blitzes all the time. But I think Caden Ellis has like better strength and speed and just pass rushing chops just in general. So I wasn't even sure if that role would be crazy productive for Schwesinger. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wrote him off and he's not going to write back.
It is bullshit to just do the vertical jump and bench press at the combine. Do the drills or don't, man.
Put on 20 pounds.
I guess putting on 20 pounds and then jumping is
vertical
like
is nice.
It's still pretty big, but like it's hilarious to only do 2 like random drills there. I can understand like a receiver being like, I'm not training for the bench press, bro. We don't care, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can understand that, but you got to show us that 40, dude. Not that it matters at all.
You do got to show us that 40. To do the vertical and not the broad is also a little funny.
That's hilarious.
I want to see if he did anything at his pro day. I don't even know if UCLA's had their pro day.
They should just start allowing like the players to just do whatever physical feat they think is most impressive and say, screw the organized.
That's what the quarterbacks get to do. They're like, we're gonna hit the roof on this on this throw just to show that we can.
Like if a running back's like, look at my squat, I'm like, okay, that's just as good for me as the bench press. And that basically otherwise the guys are just gonna not do the drills at all because they just don't want to. And
yeah,
I think it would be really cool if they could all come in like a talent show type of thing.
Yeah, it should be a talent show. Pogo stick. How many can you do in a row?
Pogo stick.
And then we have to decipher how much that matters.
Oh, we like multi-sport athletes, so it's good, man.
It looks like he only did position drills at his pro day. So
whatever. I don't care.
I was wanting to see if he did run a 40.
Oh, no, yeah.
But
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
but he
like
did
that,
not.
yeah.
But you see a lot of pro days that are indoors in a dome. UCLA's was outside. Shout out.
You guys want to talk about Chris Paul Jr.?
I was disappointed to learn that he's not actually related to CP3.
It's really not that unbelievable that like Chris Paul's just about old enough, man. I thought that Chris Paul Jr. kind of fit into the role that a lot of these other guys did, where it's like I could see him as a will. He's a little light. He's a pretty good athlete though, and like he seems to have pretty good instincts and
good tackler.
I think he holds up in coverage well, but is he going to be able to take guys out? And it's like, oh no, well you're gonna have to find the certain role. It's like it's the same thing, man.
Yeah,
that's at least how I felt to some extent. I don't know.
He is a little bit shorter than some of these other guys. Like Schwesinger 6'2", Campbell 6'3". He's only 6'1", but he's 235, or at least on ESPN.
Well, I think
35.
I think the issue is it really comes to that too. Is just like some of these guys, like they're not gonna be able to anchor against offensive line, but like not very many linebackers really can in the first place. If we're being completely honest, like it's pretty tough, and all of the all of these guys have like ways to deal with it. With Paul, it's maybe a little I don't think he's as good as like stabbing as Knight, or he's not as like quick and able to work around guys as Campbell. So there's definitely some question there, but I think I like his skill set a decent amount.
I like his skill set. I'm looking at the combine stuff now. 6'1", 222, under 30-inch arms, and a 4.63 in the 40-yard dash.
Now the arms, we know we can't trust from the combine. His arms are shorter, but everyone's arms measured crazy short in the combine.
That's true.
So maybe give him like 3/4 of an inch, but it's still not good. And that's a big difference between like maybe him and like Campbell, where it's like, okay, Campbell can like at least like you can see how he can extend. Same with Knight. Paul might not be able to do that as much. And 222
at the combine is crazy.
The problem is with combine weights now is that they're totally funny. We need to redesign how we look at players' athleticism. Like the stupid RAS score, RAS score. I like it. It's a good predictor. I don't really hate it, but like at the same time, it favors being light so ridiculously much that I think like, every time it's just like the lightest possible players are scoring like an 8.5. And it's like, this guy is like undersized, but since he's quick, what does he do well at from being undersized? He does well at 3-cone. He does well, in the shuttle. Here's his 3 40-time splits for whatever reason. Those all get weighted. And being light also probably helps you to some extent with the jumps, right? I mean, you're never going to see an offensive lineman have a 40-inch vertical.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like being like
there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot. Same thing with running where like
well, I mean, how many of the guys who are setting the top vertical jump numbers are weighing like 260 and up? I honestly don't know, but it feels like not very many. So like Harold Fannin Jr. ranks as one of the most athletic tight ends of the class. And it's like, I just don't think that's quite true. I just think he's kind of light. And you get dinged for your weight and your height. And I guess it hurts you on the bench press, hypothetically, to be light. Well, it just does. But you make up for it so much. So I don't know.
Yeah, his jumping wasn't as good. It was a 36-inch vertical. Compared to Schwesinger. I mean, Schwesinger almost went 40. 36 is still good.
That's right.
It's 3 feet. And then he went 9'9" on the broad, which, I mean, Schwesinger didn't even do it at all. But, yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, it's kind of tough to judge the combine stuff. It's just when you see these, like, drastic weight differences from, like, what supposedly they played at during the season to what they're measuring at the combine, it's like, come on, dude.
Well, does that even like really move anybody up somebody's board? I mean, the only time where I would care if a player comes in clearly not on their playing weight and then does some athletic drills is if like there was a player whose issue was like their weight in terms of like they're too heavy and they need to get lighter.
Yeah.
That's when I would really care about it. But if a guy drinks 20 pounds of water or, eats a lead weight or whatever, and then just doesn't do anything else other than just like basically sit around and talk, that's not changing my opinion on the player. But I guess we don't really need to have a big conversation about why the combine is not that important. But I thought Chris Paul was all right, but maybe a little bit more limited to some other guys in a similar role.
Yeah.
I liked him. I mean, I didn't watch him for this, but I did watch a lot of Ole Miss defense just overall this year for Trey Amos and Nolan and Pegues and everybody. And Chris Paul Jr. is legitimately, he can do a lot of things at a high level, I think. And yeah, he is small, and a lot of his stuff is kind of the same as Schwesinger, where it's like, okay, is this just getting downhill and, beating people to the spot and using your speed against college kids? Like, yeah, that is a lot of it, and I don't think you should go too high. But I thought he had a little bit more edge to him from a physicality perspective, and he's pretty good in coverage as well. And I thought he was just a hair more physical, although he's not that physical. So I do prefer him to Schwesinger a little bit.
I think I prefer Schwesinger more, but it can be a little close.
Schwesinger will be all pro before Chris Paul because of Schwesinger on special teams, which I imagine would be like the biggest demon of all time, because he's just that.
He's gonna block
got
a
that
field
dog
goal
in him.
this year. He's gonna block a field goal.
He's gonna force a fumble on a kick return or something. Like I bet, I haven't watched his special team snaps, but I bet he's like an absolute dog on special teams. But he does feel like a special teamer playing linebacker.
He's just so high effort. Like high effort guys are always goated on special teams. Like,
Preemptively hating on his special team all pro appearance. I like it. But you can see it now. Yeah, he flies downfield on a kickoff, makes a big hit, forces a fumble, maybe loses his helmet, hair comes out, dudes get hype about that. Like he's just got the got the juice for it. Yeah.
He's got the Kyle Van Noy type beat going on.
He makes that like he makes a big play. Yeah. Well, he was good on special teams for UCLA, I thought. Or I saw it, but
he was, and he'll be a good special teamer in the league. But he feels like a special teamer playing linebacker. He plays like a try-hard special teamer playing linebacker. Like I hate to say it, Chris Paul has got better instincts in coverage, just better instincts overall for the position.
Theo, another guy that you brought up that you said was a fraud is Barrett Carter out of Clemson. Common Clemson L in some people's opinion on this show.
Look, I haven't really sat down and scouted him, but like just in passing, I'm like, this guy's a draft prospect. Like he's not good. And that's like, then I just kind of moved on. So if I missed his phenomenal performances and I'm unfairly judging him off one rep, I'm sorry, but yeah, no. And just watching him move around like in a very short sample, I'm like, yeah, there's no chance that this guy's going to be I felt the same way about Trotter last year coming out of Clemson. Like both of them, honestly. I watched a lot of Trotter and Carter was next to him. And both of them were bad. And Trotter was really terrible. Like as an athlete, he was so limited. I couldn't believe he went as high as he did. And the Eagles took him and they know what they're doing. But like after Nakobe Dean went down, people were like, oh, we're going to see Jeremiah Trotter. And I was like, I don't know if we want to see that for the Super Bowl and like the NFC Championship game. Like that really could be an issue. But then they just played the other guy, Oren Burks, Packers legend Oren Burks. And he's actually like fast and was blowing up screens and like tooling around and stuff. So I was like, okay, smart move, Eagles. You did not play Jeremiah Trotter. Good free agency pickup for the Bengals, by the way, Oren Burks for like $1 million. Good shout out to him for that, because he's at least got that sideline to sideline range. But there might be a lot of Oren Burkses in this draft class. This is what I'm getting.
Interesting.
But anyway,
Matt, do you have any strong opinions on Clemson legend?
I don't. I didn't watch him.
Okay. I heard Theo mention it, so I thought I'd ask. Or is there anyone else that you like or dislike? Matt, I know you've probably seen Cody Simon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Cody Simon a good amount. As like a day 3 guy, I think that we talked about this literally last episode. I think he's good, blitzing, and I thought he had some juice in coverage, and I think he's a decent athlete. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit, but I thought he was a good athlete. And he made a lot of plays downhill for OSU. I mean, he was really good for Ohio State last year. He's got a late breakout. He's got shorter arms. I don't know, like, is he going to be able to take guys on all of the time at the NFL level? We'll see. There could definitely be some limitations or whatever that maybe get the best of him. But he was really good for a really good defense. And unless like you think he just doesn't have the athleticism to hang at the next level, I have a hard time feeling like he's not going to be able to contribute to a team, at least in some way.
I feel like the athletic limitations are more would be an issue for coverage than anything else.
The thing is that I don't think he's that athletically limited. I feel like some people think that, but I don't really feel that way. I don't think that he is. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't end up being a big coverage guy and he's more of a situational dude, but it's very, very factored in. But he was winning like player of the game in big time games for OSU, and he was balling and making real plays. So I like him. I like him a decent amount as somebody who's, you know, getting like projected below 150, which is like what, like 5th round, 6th round,
Yeah, I'm
that type
seeing
of stuff.
Like,
Give me a guy who was good for a good defense, and you know, on the biggest stage at that point. I mean, you're in the 6th round, you're drafting like punters and guys who like weren't even good in college. So whatever. But
I think
that's
I think that's perfectly fine to take him in the 6th round.
sure.
Yeah, man. Is there anyone else you guys want to talk about?
No one comes to mind.
Okay. A lot of good tacklers, a few decent coverage guys, but they all struggle with contact on offensive linemen, it seems. So we'll see how this linebacker class works out. I do think that compared to some of the more recent classes, this is an improvement, a turn in the right direction. Maybe next year we'll get, you know, some Brian Urlachers back. We'll get some Ray Lewis. Maybe those guys will come back in next year's draft class. But thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. And next episode will probably be, you know, the AI Stay Hot guys after we all drown in Theo's sink flooding and Matt and I both having our, you know, houses flood. But until then, thank you for tuning in. And as always, from your favorite fellas here at Stay Hot, we will catch you on the flippity flop.